Okay, I want to start off by saying all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rukakudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, pushing this word on an international level. And blessings to the hopeful elect out there. Just a quick one. Following my video that I put out 2 days ago, Thursday. It's now Saturday morning. So I put that video out basically showing you, look, they're looking to extend this START deal. And told you, you got to use your discernment basically to work out what's going on. You can't trust what people say, so you got to use yourself. You got to use the spirit that's working with you to look at these situations and actually pick the bones out of it and work out what's going on, what's not going on. So bearing that video in mind, just a quick recap. That video, 3 points that I brought out on that video, which we'll go into now real quickly, is I brought out a point that the New World Order are going to want to take over the world. They want to put one of their banking systems into every country on Earth. So at some point, they're going to have to march in to every country, which they've pretty much done to most of them. But there's a few left, including Russia and Iran and things like that. So this is where their problem is to complete their plan. That was one point I brought out. Another point I brought out was, how are you going to go to Putin and ask him to start reducing arms, which is what this START nuclear treaty is about. It's about reducing the number of arms you have. How are you going to go and get the man to go and start throwing away his weapons after he just went and built them? After he spent all them years slowly pulling out, and now all of a sudden, on the deadline of it expiring, you're going to try and extend it. So how are you going to then say to the guy, throw away your guns? He's silly. He ain't going to do that. And that's the third thing basically I told you on the last video. Discern the headlines. You need to look at these headlines and discern what's going on. So real quick, let's just get into this. I found this last night. I weren't really looking, it just came across me. 29th of Jan. That's Friday evening, 5 o'clock. So basically, let's read this headline. A done deal. Following agreement with Biden, law extending New START nuclear treaty with US for 5 years signed into law by Putin. So when you read that headline, sounds pretty promising, for the people that are trying to avoid World War III. The people who want to prolong it and push it off and hope that it doesn't come for a long time. A done deal. That sounds pretty promising. So let's just read on. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a bill extending the New START nuclear arms reduction agreement. Right? Arms reduction. Reducing means getting rid of. The Kremlin has announced, should his US counterpart Joe Biden follow suit, the treaty will remain in force until 2026. Friday evening's move comes just 2 days after Russian parliament unanimously agreed to prolong the pact that was about to expire on February the 5th. Earlier this week, Putin and Biden agreed to trigger the 5-year extension clause following a lengthy phone call. This launched the paperwork needed to save the treaty, which had been left in limbo after the previous Donald Trump administration in Washington refused to prolong it without preconditions. So far, that sounds quite promising. We've made it halfway down this article, and it sounds really promising. And this is what they're going to do. Remember what I said to you, they're going to use Donald Trump as the excuse and the marker to say he messed everything up. Everything we do that's an improvement on him is a win. That's how they're going to sell themselves. And the other thing I want to say is, you see, there's different types of people in this world. Some people are just asleep. Now, the people that are asleep, what they will do, there's many people like that, and what they will do, they will read a headline like this and they'll run with it. So they'll read that headline, a done deal, following agreement with Biden, law extending New START nuclear treaty for US for 5 years signed into law by Putin. So they'll see that and they go, oh, look, and they'll run with that. And these are the people that we call asleep. Now, you see, people that think they're deep but are not deep, that's the next level up. They'll read on a bit. So they'll read this headline and they'll go, okay, And then they'll read probably about this far. And then they'll run with that. They'll go off and tell people, look, blah, 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 this and that, it's all good, look, I read it, da, 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 da. But you see, people with their eyes fully open, and only people with their eyes fully open will read that, and then read the rest. So let's carry on. So that's another story, by the way, in there. After agreeing new START extension, Moscow warns treaty may not last long if the US attempts to undermine Russia's national security. Let's come back to that. So let's finish this article. The new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, known as START, that came into force back in 2011, limits the number of nuclear warheads and their delivery vehicles the US and Russia are allowed to possess. The agreement is considered virtually the only remaining arms control agreement between the two nuclear powers. Now it is up to the US to legally formalize the extension. There have been no updates on the matter from Washington so far. Now here's where it gets interesting. Under the Trump administration, Russia was locked in uneasy negotiations with the US on the extension of the treaty. Moscow repeatedly called on Washington to extend the agreement for 5 years without any preconditions. So what Russia is saying is, if you're going to extend it, just extend it as it is. Just, whatever it was, just get on with it. Just go back to it or don't go back to it, basically. But the US put forward some additional demands. Okay. At a certain point, Washington sought to extend the treaty for 1 year instead of 5. And demanded a cap to be put on all nuclear warheads for that period. When Russia agreed to meet Washington only halfway on these issues, the US demanded changes to the verification regime. Eventually, a deal was reached only after the end of Trump's presidential term. Still, after agreeing to the extension, Moscow has warned that the treaty might not last long should the US make any attempts to undermine Russia's national security. So, what did I say? I said that you're not going to get Putin to throw anything away. You're not going to get him after backing out for 15 years, and then it gets to a point where this treaty is about to expire. You're going to go knock on his door last minute and say, oh, actually, can we extend it? And he just spent a lot of money. He just went around making a lot of weapons, and he's made a lot of allies. He's made a lot of deals with people, and so he's he was like forward thinking. He got himself into gear before ahead of time, obviously, like any sort of decent person would do. Get your business sorted out, and he did it. And now last minute, you're gonna go and ask him, the key word being for a cap. You're gonna ask him for a cap. A cap is a limit. When you put your shoes on, you put your trousers on, you put your jacket on, then you put your cap on. Nothing goes above a cap. A cap is just a limit. A cap does not make you throw things away, get rid of. A cap just limits it. So it's the top. So all they're looking to do, say to them is, this is basically a timeout. This is what they're asking for. This is Babylon the Great, who spent 15 years telling Putin, nah, we don't want to take part in this reduction treaty. So Putin went and did what he did, just like he told you previously. They didn't expect me to go and build what I built, but I have. So what are they calling for? They're calling for time out, cap. And they're saying a year. That's what they went with. That's what they went with. Look. They sought to extend the treaty for 1 year instead of 5 and demanded a cap. So they're basically, it's a timeout. That's a timeout. They're saying, listen, timeout. Whatever you do, just don't build nothing more. Now, that ain't a problem to Putin, because Putin doesn't have to throw nothing away, and Putin's still got the biggest warheads. He's still got the most untrackable warheads and with the distance to reach Babylon the Great. So, like I said to you, you won't get him to throw nothing away. They know that. That's why they're asking for a cap. They're asking for a timeout. See, reason why they're quite happy with a year rather than a 5 year, because they have their other plans. Their other plans are to do what they want to do in Iran, install one of their banks. This is their plan. This is what I also brought out, that the New World Order have an agenda, and they're going to go through with it. They're going to try and complete it. They've been working on it for years, for hundreds of years, and they're going to complete the process They're going to try to, at least. So this is why they only want it for a year, because they got something planned. So this is where you got to pick the bones out of what you're reading here. And then at the bottom here, look, still after agreeing to the extension, Moscow has warned that the treaty might not last long should the US make any attempts to undermine Russia's national security. Now, when I showed you the video of Russia going around making allies with all these countries, that was due to the fact of America slowly pulling out of the START treaty, like I said, Putin getting close to the deadline, thinking, okay, I'm going to go and start building relations with others. So Biden can now come in and say, do you know what? Let's extend it. Okay, I can't get you to throw nothing away. Let's just cap what we build. Time out. Just stop for a second. And Putin's going, cool. We'll stop for a second because we're fully loaded. And so's all my allies because I've fully loaded them. And so when it says here, any attempts to undermine Russia's national security, that means attacking one of its allies, right? So when the least of the flock draw them out, those that get drawn out are going to have allies, which are Russia. So you're technically going to be picking on Russia's friends. And we all know what Babylon the Great's about. We all know that they work with the least of the flock. So we know that obviously, anything that they do is going to be seen as an attack from both. If the least of the flock draw them out, that's going to be seen as work on behalf of America. So, and on top of that, you're then attacking an ally of Russia. You then involve an ally of Russia. So when they get involved, you saw on my other video, Iran have given Russia permission to use their air bases. So all they got to do is send down ships, send down planes, send down jets, and they'll line them up right next door. So technically, when you check it, by pulling out of the START treaty and letting it get this far, even if you extend it, you've actually created room, Babylon the Great created room for Putin to go and do the groundwork under good reason. And he did the groundwork. And that's what I tried to show you. Yahweh has armed up everybody. He's given them all guns. He's given them all ICBMs, jets, everything. They're all fully loaded. You've seen it. So this is what it is. You got to use the discernment. You got to look at it properly. Even here, look, the new START extension is welcome, but it won't deliver stability. The last thing the US wants is improved relations with Russia. Why is that? Because they want to take them over one day. See, this is why they only want a year. This is why they just want to cap time out. They know they can't ask the man to just get rid of his stuff. They're just calling time out. Hold up. Wait a minute. So they can just get their house in order. But their house is in a mess because obviously what's going on in the country, part of it, they push that agenda. They've got a lot going on. They've bitten off. This is Babylon the Great's problem, you see. The end of days are coming, and in the very end, they're going to bite off more than they can chew. And you're seeing it. You're seeing them take that big bite, more than they can chew. That's all I wanted to say, just a quick one. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Ruach HaKodesh, Shalom.